Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Battersby. I am an exterior designer for Audi, and it is my pleasure to give you some insight into the design of the Audi Grand Sphere. Just a little bit about myself. I've been a designer with Audi for the last 12 years. I come from Canada, so bringing a very different background to the Audi design team, which is quite big, and it takes many people to really contribute to a concept car such as this. Now, the Grand Sphere, the name sphere, is at the heart of that. And what is the sphere that we're showcasing? This is your personal space. This is where you can relax, where you can interact with digital technologies, and where you can experience the vehicle. And that really all starts from the inside, from the cockpit, allowing you to interact with the vehicle in new ways and really give you holistic experiences. Now, traditionally, in car design, we always started with the exterior. You start with a fresh sheet of paper, you're sketching, you come up with a beautiful shape, and then you create an interior that's going to follow through and support that. But with the Grand Sphere and with all of our sphere concepts, we really started from the inside out. So that really meant looking at you as a user, understanding what your needs are in terms of your daily habits, the types of technology you want to interact with. And then from there, working inside out, comes the exterior that supports all of that architecture and technology. So we'll take a second, allow my colleague to open the doors, and I'd really invite everyone to sort of make your way around that you can actually see what's happening on the interior, because this really is the heart of the technology and the architecture of this vehicle that makes it so unique. And so I'm an exterior designer, so my colleagues in interior design really took up the challenge to take what is a D-class segment car, so you imagine what today's A8 is, where the focus is on the rear seat. Traditionally, the focus is on these limos is always in the rear seat, and that you would traditionally have a chauffeur in the front seat. But with autonomous technology, level 4, and shifting that technology allows us to put the importance back on the front seat so that you no longer need a chauffeur. You can drive when you want, and when you don't need to, you can actually relax and allow the vehicle to take over. So as you can see, the interior is completely clean. There is no steering wheel at the moment. The dash is just clean and seamless. And that was very intentional. We wanted that feeling of like traveling in a first-class flight. Open space, the area, and the technology that you expect to have that seamless kind of travel. But when you want to change from autonomous mode back into driving mode, at Audi, we're still a brand that really thrives on driving dynamics, and we're a sporty brand. So a steering wheel can actually unfold from the dashboard and allow you to take the wheel. So you still have the combination of being able to drive and being able to allow the vehicle drive you. And that is something that is extremely premium, having both options inside and never having to change your position inside the vehicle. Now the interior, again, very spacious, very comfortable. It really does feel like a lounge. And that was that comfort from the first class travel that we really wanted to evoke and bring into the interior of this car. Now you can see when the seat goes into lounge mode, obviously when the car is in autonomous mode, you're further from the physical buttons on the dashboard and also on the door. So we've also thought about what does it mean when you're in relaxed mode to control these kinds of technologies. So we actually integrated eye tracking. So when you're in relaxed mode and you just move your eyes, you can actually select the different functions on the dashboard. So we're always thinking about that seamless way of integrating the technology. And these are kind of these magic moments that you kind of get excited about, that people can talk about. You can tell people that, wow, Audi's actually really thinking about how to use technology in a very interesting way. The same goes for the knob on the door, which activates the heat controls. When you're in lounge mode, you don't want to actually get up and physically turn the knob. You're too far. So if you do a gesture like this, the physical knob on the door actually will turn. So these are things that really add to the comfort and the sophistication of this interior. So all in all, this interior really represents a great shift in how we're approaching integrating really good technologies, future technologies, and again, everything should feel very seamless. You don't want to get into the car and feel that you have too many things coming at you all at the same time. So that's why the interior really does wrap around you. The dashboard projection is beautiful against the wood inlay, but when you don't need the actual display to be on, the display can fall into the background. You can again enjoy the beauty of the wood, the surroundings, and of course the fantastic panoramic glass in this case. So as I mentioned, I can allow my colleagues to close the doors. And that shift in the position of the driver back to the front of the vehicle means a very significant change in the architecture following on the exterior of the car. That meant you now can have a faster roofline, very dynamic and very sporty, because you have less necessity for headroom in the rear. So we have a lower, sportier roof in the rear. We also have a lot of volume in the front of the cabin and the windscreen, which is not typical from today's A8, for example. So you have more volume, and instead of, as an exterior designer, you're trying to work with the volume and how you can best convey beautiful proportions in a sophisticated interior. So that means working with that volume, allow the volume to be there, but using different kind of, let's say, ways of playing with lines to visually change the architecture and the perception of the car. For example, this aluminum detail is much further back than actually the center of the windshield. And this swoops all the way back and connects to the rear. So it really does stretch the car, gives it a much more sporty and almost GT-like proportion. So that really changes what you would know from a traditional A8, which has a much more sedan-like cabin, to something very sporty. As we move lower in the body, we're always looking at ways to simplify the design of the exterior. The most simple cars are the ones that you can immediately recognize. Less lines and more movement and more sculpture in the body. And this is something, as an exterior designer, we really take to heart, that we want to be able to represent our brand completely and wholly when you first see the exterior. And so there's one line starting from the front of the car that really wraps all the way around and back again and creates a loop. And this one line really signifies the whole architecture of this vehicle. And we nicknamed that the UFO line, because it really does represent like a UFO, where you have a very simplified saucer shape with one line that runs all the way around. And from there, that gave us an idea to have a design hierarchy that meant everything above the line had to have its place, had to have its correct proportion, and everything below that line had to be there to support the design and also keep it very dynamic. Now, between these key lines is where the sculpture happens. But the sculpture isn't just there because it has to be there. We also connect it to our DNA in terms of quattro technology. So Audi is known for quattro technology and driving dynamics. And this is where the magic happens, where between the surfaces you have these really bold sculptural fenders that really signify that quattro technology, but in a very sophisticated way. It's not in your face, it's there to be part of the vehicle and very sculptural. Now I'd like to actually move to the front of the car, because the face of the car is so important for our brand. In order to have a brand that's recognizable, and everybody can know from today's Audis on the road that the single frame grille is something that is very iconic and really can capture your eye on first glance. Now what we did was to evolve the face very carefully, removing the chrome and aluminum elements on the front, closing the single frame grille. In this case, we need less air compared to a combustion engine of today. And so we were allowed to really be expressive and evolve the face of the car, but it still retains that classic Audi language that if you see it for the first time, you can understand that it's part of our brand. The headlights as well were very well considered by our light team in terms of what does the eye of the car really convey. And in this case, they came upon a design that is evoking that of a pupil of an eye. And that was really by design, to have something that you could connect it with a bit of human characteristic. But if you look closer, the actual pupil is a cropped section of the Audi rings. So the design is directly related to our brand and the rings that are displayed so proudly on the front of the vehicle, and always has some logic behind it and is connecting back to the brand. So all in all, as you can see, a lot of thought went into this vehicle in terms of starting from a very holistic experience on the inside and a beautiful aesthetical experience on the outside. And I hope I gave you some insight into how the car was born. And please, we're going to open up the doors again so you guys can definitely have a look at the interior. And I would say, yeah, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the day.